Here we go. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I think we're live. Are we live? It's always a little bit questionable at the beginning of a live stream whether or not we are live. It is good to see people here. Are they saying that they can see me? So, welcome to my monthly live stream. It's been a bit of a challenging day, I'm not going to lie, so I am going to do my best to do this live stream and have some fun with you guys, but you'll have to excuse me if I'm a little bit off this week. So I had written down some things so that I could be all professional live stream like. First of all, I've got loads of new subscribers, so if that is you, welcome to my new subscribers. And it's great to have you here, and I'm really glad that you're finding my channel useful. I also wanted to say thank you to the Purple people for all their support this month, and that's been really helpful, and you guys will be getting your video on Monday. And so what we're going to do today is I have been collecting questions, firstly from the Purple people, and then I also asked on my regular YouTube community tab, and I also asked on Instagram. So I'm going to go through the Purple people's questions first as a little bit of a thank you for their support this month, and then I'm sure I'll have time to get on to the questions that I got from Instagram, and additionally any questions that you might, if we have any time at the end, any questions that you might want to ask. But do chat away in the chat, because that's really fun, and if Mr. Purple sees something that he should draw my attention to, he'll draw my attention to it, so it'll still be quite interactive. So I think I'm just going to get started. Is it all working okay? Yeah, brilliant. I think I'm just going to get started with the first question. I thought about whether to be like, this question is for this person, like, you know, a YouTuber might, but then I decided that these are quite personal questions, some of them, and so some of you might not want to be identified with your questions, so I'm just going to do them as anonymous questions, and hope you guys are all right with that, but thanks for sending those in this week. So the first question that I've got is, I'd love some tips on softening the hard blow of a big meltdown. I can feel a meltdown coming, and I don't want it to be as bad as the last one where I wasn't safe at home and had to spend 3 days at mental health crisis centre. So first of all, I'm really sorry that you had such a bad meltdown and that you had to spend some time at a mental health crisis centre, and I can completely understand why this person might feel really apprehensive about the next big meltdown. For those of you who have meltdowns like myself, it's always really difficult in the aftermath of a meltdown to process what's happened and kind of trying to think of ways to prevent it from happening in the future, because you don't want to go through that again. And particularly for this person who's obviously been in a significant amount of distress when they had their last meltdown. So funnily enough, I was actually researching a video today that I'm going to make in the next few weeks about meltdowns, and I'm going to break down meltdowns of prevention or meltdown softening into 2 approaches strategy-wise. So there's kind of long-term approach to meltdown softening and prevention, and then the short-term approach. So the long, and you need both really in your armory or in your toolkit. Armory sounds a little bit warish, sorry about that, folks. In your toolbox. So the long-term strategies are all around managing your mental health as an autistic person in a world that isn't always ideal for our neurology. And so that's the long-term strategies that I talk about, like making sure that your sensory needs are met, having a sensory diet, managing your emotion, recognizing and managing your emotions, making sure that you get time out for yourself to do your special interest or to do mindfulness, eating well, getting enough sleep, basically taking care of yourself, but with an extra layer of autism caretaking, whether that be using weighted blankets or whatever you need for your sensory diet, but also having someone to talk to when you need to process emotions that you might struggle with on your own and all that kind of stuff. And those are kind of the long-term strategies that I would recommend being like a real priority in your day-to-day life, because that's what's going to prevent you from reaching the point where a meltdown is going to happen. Not always, but more of the time, and that's certainly what's reduced my own meltdowns. So it's kind of like making sure that you are in a good place before bad stuff happens, so you might have a little bit of capacity to avoid that meltdown, if that makes sense. And then the short-term strategies are get yourself somewhere safe. You start to feel like you are going to have a meltdown. Get yourself somewhere safe. Make sure there are people around you that will keep you safe. Try to shut off as much sensory stimulation as possible, and whatever it is that works for you. For me, that means going upstairs into my bedroom, lying on the bed, hanging out with my dog, getting some time to kind of prevent the meltdown reaching its peak and calm myself down before that happens. And you will know from experimentation, or you can find out from experimentation, what works for you to go from I'm in a meltdown right at the start and I've still got some power, to it not escalating. So yeah, kind of experiment, find solutions, write them down, and have a meltdown plan when you're not meltdown that you can then implement. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. Yeah, I'm not going to get to those questions just at the moment. Yeah, I think I'm going to cover the purple, make sure I cover the purple people questions, and then get to submit any extra questions after that, if that's okay with you guys. Sorry, but I've got a lot of questions. Yeah, so but do let me know in the comments how you're doing, what's happening in your lives. You know, I'd like to hear about those things, whether you've noticed which characters behind me on the window, whether you can identify my new birthday heads that the kids bought me. That's your challenge. So the next question that I've got, sorry. The next question that I've got is, it's a good question. I like this one. When I am out and about with Coco, my assistance dog, what sort of reactions do I get from people when they see from her jacket that she is my assistance dog? And that's a really good question, because Coco only started, she's not a qualified assistance dog, she's an assistance dog in training, which gives her access to lots of public places, but we're still having to work a lot on her ongoing training to get to the point where she can pass the access test and be a fully qualified assistance dog. And you don't see a huge amount of assistance dogs that are small, fluffy dogs. I think people are more accustomed to seeing kind of guide dogs for the blind, or, you know, Labradors or golden retrievers working with their handlers. So we get a lot of questions about what it is that she does for me, which I find a little bit intrusive, to tell you the truth, because what they're basically asking, if they ask what she does for me, is what I need assistance in, as in what is my disability. And for me, that's not such a major problem, because you've only got to type my name into a Google browser and you're going to find out that I have a number of conditions. But I kind of think of other people that are going to be out with their assistance dogs and wanting to teach people that it's not really okay to ask that. So I have come up with a number of quick fire responses to that question, one of which is that she's got a chip in her paw and she can pay for things on chip and pin for me, which draws mixed responses but makes me laugh. And if someone's being really kind of a bit more insistent that they know, I will go with something like she bites people who ask me annoying questions, at which point people are just usually a bit bewildered by what to do with me and tend to walk away. Or if I'm feeling generous, I'll get into what she does. But, you know, I get asked maybe once, maybe twice every time I go out with her, and I haven't really got time to get into what assistance dogs do with that level of regularity in my day-to-day life, when I'm trying to cope with everything that I have to cope with when I'm out in the world. So that's one reaction. Another reaction is people that try and interact with her, which is also challenging because assistance dogs need to be focused on the work that they're doing. So we try and discourage that, but in a really kind, gentle, actually she's working kind of way. Again, thinking that in future there'll be more small, fluffy assistance dogs if this kind of pathway works out for assistance dogs. And so if we tell people that, they'll know the next time, and, you know, that will be useful. We've had a few, you're not bringing your dog in here, or you have to sit outside, but Mr. Purple's got a really adept at being like, no, check the equality law, I think you'll find we can bring her in, she is registered. And also the assistance dog company that I'm working with will get in touch with the place. If I know I'm going somewhere and I'm not sure how it's going to be received for me to bring Coco, I'll get them to get in touch and negotiate that for me. So yeah, that is the sort of thing that's happening for us, that we're finding at the moment whilst out and about with Coco. But the benefits that she's bringing me are far outweighing that sort of slight hassle, so I think it's worth it. And the next question I've got is, hang on, before I get into that, how many people have we got? 44 people, hello. Do let me know if I'm boring, stupid, and you'd like me to talk about something else. Otherwise, I'm going to carry on. And I'm also on a chair that has rollers on it, so don't mind me if I move about a little bit. I'm struggling with that. Okay, so next question is, when anxious, have I ever been told to just lighten up or other things which trivialize your feelings? And if so, how do I respond? Not a huge amount in my day-to-day life these days, because I have surrounded myself with a community of people who understand that anxiety isn't something that you can just lighten up from. But when I was in my 20s and early 30s and I didn't know that I was autistic, but I knew that I was having mental health struggles, I did get people suggesting that I cheer up, or that I lighten up, or that it's not so bad, or that it could be worse, or that someone somewhere else has it much worse, so that should make me feel more cheerful, or some variation on the belittling of my experience, I guess. And at the time I didn't really know how to respond at all, so I used to just kind of agree and try and cheer up. But now if somebody said that to me, I would sort of say, I know that you're trying to be helpful, what would be helpful instead would be, so rather than being like, oh, what you've said has made me feel terrible, you're, you know, and making that person feel really bad, kind of acknowledging that they're trying to help me and being like thankful for that, but at the same time suggesting what might actually be helpful. Because I think sometimes people say cheer up because they don't really know what else to say. We're all just navigating this world in which we're trying to understand other people's experiences and be connected to other people, and sometimes you just don't know what to say when faced with a situation that maybe you're not accustomed to, maybe you've not come across, maybe you've not experienced, and it would be really useful to actually be directed. What you could do is just sit with me and not talk, or watch a TV show with me and laugh with me, or whatever it is that might help instead. So yeah, that's how I would handle that. But no, thankfully I don't deal with that amount anymore. Anything from the chat? Are people enjoying my, yeah, okay, cool. Self-esteem issues. Right, before I move on to the next question, I'm just going to do the YouTuber thing that I'm going to do once every live stream, because I'm trying to be self-promoting, because there's nothing wrong with that, and say that I have a members only club on YouTube called The Purple People. I'm really grateful to all the Purple People. What they do is pay a small monthly subscription, which means that I can have this as a job and create this kind of content for everybody for free, so people who can't afford to do that can also access the content, which is great and really, really helpful. And in exchange for that, they get a monthly video that's just for them, community posts that I put out on a Monday. And if you are a Purple person, do check the community tab, because I put out posts on the community tab just to try and connect us more as a community, and I'm not sure whether everyone's seeing those. And you also get a sticker, a vinyl sticker that you can put on your laptop or on your water bottle or on your bike or whatever takes your fancy, on your face, wherever. So that's what you get for joining the Purple People. And I have now done my YouTuber thing for this evening. Thank you very much. And moving on to the next question. How do I cope? Oh, this is a good question, and I'm not sure how to answer it. How do I cope with the change of moving house? So this person finds the change and getting everything organised overwhelming, and it causes them meltdowns. And I know that a couple of people from the Purple People were actually interested in the answer to this question and are in the process of moving house at this time. So I haven't moved house for, how long have we been here now? 6 years. 6 years we moved into this house, and prior to being in this house we were always in rental properties, and we have actually managed to, we've got a mortgage, but we own some portion of this house and we'll be staying here. And we were in rental properties, and we moved on average somewhere between every 3 and 5 years for the 15 years prior to being in this house. And I found it extremely challenging, and I was extremely challenging. Mr. Purple's laughing. I was extremely challenging because I found 2 aspects of moving particularly challenging. First aspect was moving to a new house, everything changes. Am I going to like it? Is it going to be okay? Will the environment of the house actually suit me? Because I'm actually really, really picky about a certain number of things to do with the house. Like, it can't have you know, that horrible wallpaper. What's it called, the wallpaper that was on that rental house that we were in? It's got like hard bits, wood chip wallpaper. I now know I do not want to be somewhere with wood chip wallpaper. I like to have a kitchen diner because I like to chat with people in the diner, etc. I have a bunch of requirements and I struggle if those aren't met because I'm special, so very special. Anyway, I struggle with that. And then the second aspect that I struggle with is the moving of my stuff, which is nicely organized and laid out how I want it in all of the rooms of my house, into boxes, into another house, and the chaos that you have to live with for a period of time before that has all been reassembled and put back how it should be in the new house. And there's like a couple of weeks, isn't there, where you're living surrounded by boxes and you don't have your internet connected, and you know that period. And Mr. Purple knows that I need some order quite quickly, so he does tend to facilitate that happening. But yeah, I struggle with those things. And that was like 20 times as much when we bought this house, because I wasn't just going into a rental that I could leave within a few years. I was committing to a house, which, to be honest, probably caused me more angst than committing to a man, which didn't cause me any angst. So actually, when I examine that, it's just a house, right? But it's not. So what was the question? How do I cope with it? Badly. The answer is very badly. That's so helpful. I hope that was helpful. No, but seriously, it's a short-term thing. Even if you cope with it really badly and have a bunch of meltdowns, presuming you're not moving with too much regularity, you're going to have a month of and then you're going to be in your new house and it's all going to be good. So to some extent, give yourself a break and don't worry and accept a level of chaos in your head at that time. But obviously, when I was diagnosed, I was already in this house. So I haven't moved since then. So I didn't know that I should put in place all the autism strategies that I always talk about, like making sure that my sensory needs are met and figuring out what I need to happen in the new house. Which room do I need to be set up first? Do I need to have the lounge set up so I've got a space I can be in? Do I need to have my kitchen set up so that I can cook before the lounge? You know, prioritizing what you need to be okay, and trying to manage your emotions, recognize and manage that your emotions are valid, and get the things that you need, whether that's a dog walk for half an hour up on the fields, or maybe that's just me, or your favorite TV show each day to cope with the stress of that moving period, and then ride that wave and enjoy your new house. Yeah, that's the answer to that question. I don't know how helpful it was because I can't say I've moved without meltdowns. What's happened?
What?
Am I still live? Oh no, technical difficulties. Do you have anything you'd like to tell me from the chat before I move on?
Questions or chat?
Chat. I want to know what they're saying. Ow, oh no, he just banged his head on a really sharp corner of a shelf. Not fun. Hey, who's that? H17. Is that a super chat? I'm just really sorry, I can't see. I should stop doing that and just entertain you, right? But thank you very much. Yeah, let me know if there are super chats because I like to thank people because it's very nice. Okay, this is the last purple people question, and I'll take a few from the chat and I'll take a few from here and all that. So if you've got questions, I'll let you know when I'm likely to actually look at them, because sometimes they just get lost in the chat and Mr. Purple's trying to find stuff and it's challenging for him. Okay, the last purple people question is, before you had an official diagnosis, was dealing with neurotypical people difficult because they expected you to do things that we as autistic people, I guess, don't? For example, this person's husband isn't supportive when they are overstimulated and they need to be alone. They go off and try and be alone, and the husband are like, what's going on with you? What's wrong with you? Rather than, okay, you just need to be alone because you're autistic and that's what you need. And I would kind of partly say half my answer to this question is that whether you've got an autism diagnosis or not, needing to go and meet your needs by being alone in a room should be okay. Like, I'd like to think that Mr. Purple and I would be able to meet each other's needs in that way without an official diagnosis needed. And then I would partly say I kind of got my official diagnosis quite soon after I realised I was autistic. Within about 5 months of realising I was autistic, I was diagnosed. So there wasn't a huge amount of time where I thought I was autistic and was trying to help my neurology, but I didn't have a diagnosis. But during that time, the people around me, like Mr. Purple and my close friends, were all supportive of the idea that I might be autistic. Luckily, coincidentally anyway, some of them were involved in the autism world through work, and so had a bit of awareness of autism. And those that weren't, just kind of, I think because I'm kind of the kind of person who goes, I think this, and I've done this research, and I think this might help, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm going to do it, and if you could go with it, it will help be happier. Because I'm quite forthright, I guess I'm good at advocating for myself. That helped the people that weren't knowledgeable about autism be supportive. And Mr. Purple has dealt with the fact that I have struggles for our entire relationship. So whether it was labelled autism or not, we knew that I was struggling and that I needed support and that I might need to do things differently to other people. So I think it's to do with, again, this kind of official stamp of approval that you need to get to prove that you're autistic. And I do understand why we need to go, do I? I think it's useful to go through a diagnostic process for you as much as it is for anybody else. But prior to having a diagnosis, you still have the needs that you have. Whatever that ends up being called, you still have those needs, and that's more important. So I would say that, all of that, or just play in this like section of the video. You have those needs, you have found a way to manage those needs, and that should be respected, and it's okay for you to have a boundary that should be respected. That is what I would say about that. I hope that was helpful. Okay, so I think I'll do one more question from my Instagram, where I asked about Instagram questions, and then whilst I'm doing that, if anyone has a question they'd really like to ask me, Mr. Purple will pick one while I'm doing that during this time, so go. So my first question from Instagram was, and if you, and proper YouTuber stuff all over it, if you don't follow me on Instagram, that is where I ask on the YouTube community tab. I also ask on Instagram, usually in my stories, where you can actually put the question in a box. It's ever so clever. So if you don't follow me on Instagram and you'd like to see that, and also my general stories, which are reasonably regular, I am at Purple Ella and Coco on Instagram, and I also share some pictures of me, often with Coco, sometimes with my children. Yes, so the first question from Instagram is, why did you feel like you needed an assistance dog? And again, that's a really good question, and it's a question that I've asked myself as well. And I think how it came to be that I felt that I needed an assistance dog was that I got Coco as a puppy. She's coming up to 3, so I've had her for this Christmas, I've had her for 3 years. And I found that when I was out in the world with Coco, because we would often go to dog-friendly cafes or places where we could take her anywhere, I felt more in control of myself and more present and more grounded and less anxious in the world than I did when I wasn't with her. And the only way I can explain that is that she was like a tether. Like her presence on the end of a lead was like a tether to the earth that made me feel less floaty, which makes me sound a little bit it's a bit of a weird explanation, but I think I've always felt, and I think it's to do with, that's why I like the weighted blankets and the deep pressure stuff, I've always felt a little bit like not quite attached when I'm out in the world, not when I'm home. It helped with that. So I realised that her being with me was making a significant difference. And in addition to that, if I was getting upset or if I was feeling meltdowny, I could just grab hold of her and feel her fur and her weight and her warmth, and that would sometimes help to calm me down. So I realised that those were 2 significant needs that were being met by her. So perhaps those needs could be met in a more official capacity, and then I'd be able to take her to more places I really struggle. Like, for example, before I had Coco, I couldn't have gone to the hospital and had an appointment at the hospital without Mr. Purple having to also take time off work and come with me. And last time I went to the hospital, I took Coco in her official capacity, and I went to an appointment on my own and came back in good spirits. In addition, I'm extremely phobic of needles, and even going with support didn't necessarily guarantee that I would be able to have a blood test, and I have to have blood tests reasonably regularly because of my physical conditions. And last time I had a blood test, I had to have a blood test about 6 weeks ago, And not only was I not anxious in the lead up to it because I was taking her with me, I got there, started to feel that familiar panic attack rush, thought, right, to have my assistance dog, this is what this is for. Stroked her, and by the time the nurse came to get me, I was completely calm, and I had the blood test, no problem at all. But yeah, that's why I feel like I needed assistance dog, because there were things that I couldn't do on my own before I had her with me. Yes. Okay, we have a question from the chat.
You can do it.
I'll have a look at the. Sorry, do you mind me just having a look at the screen? How can I better explain to people that physical contact causes me meltdowns in the form of panic attacks? Most people assume I'm not being serious. Okay. And again, whenever I hear questions like this really comes to me as the other people's issue, not yours. Because if you're clearly saying to someone, physical contact is extremely distressing for me and causes me meltdowns, and that person is not taking that seriously, that is really not something you are doing. That is them not respecting that boundary that you're putting in place. And I'm really obsessed with boundaries at the moment because I think they're really important. I'm going to make a whole video about how to find what boundaries work for you and implement them in the next couple of weeks. And so I'm wondering whether it might help in terms of this particular person's situation, if you could get an official card that says this on it. And I wonder about, because there's an organisation called Stickman Communications, who I've not had anything from, but I keep seeing them pop up on social media and their stuff looks great. And I've got autism cards, but I don't know whether there's one as specific as that. But I wonder whether she does custom-made stuff. It might be worth looking for Stickman Communications and asking if you could have a card made that says, please don't touch me, it causes me distress, or something, some appropriate way of saying that. I'm not good at sentences. That means that rather than, I think sometimes if people were handed an official card, they might take that more seriously, weirdly enough, if you just said it to them. So I would wonder whether that might be helpful. The other thing that I would suggest is, in advance of a situation where you might find yourself needing to be involved in physical contact, like say you're going to a dinner at someone's house or you're meeting up with friends, kind of, or if you're in a WhatsApp group or whatever, kind of sending out a text saying, I really would like you to know in advance that I would not like to have contact because it is stressing me, so that they've been forewarned and they're not just in the moment going, oh, I don't know what to do with that information because I'm about to hug you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think that's probably how I would handle that. Okay. I'm going to do another one from Instagram and then I'll take another one from the chat. Because I thought this one was quite, well, I've got a quick one from Instagram and then I'll take one from the chat. This is a super quick one, so be ready, Dave. Mr. Purple. How long have you been on YouTube for? I have had a YouTube channel for about 9 years because I set one up when I started blogging. I had a blog for quite a while before I started actually making videos, but I set one up because we were told at some blogging conference that you should set up a YouTube channel. And I was really massively intimidated by the idea of the technical challenge of creating a video, filming it, editing it. It seemed like a lot more work than sitting down and writing a blog post, and I was a bit scared to get into it. I didn't make any videos for about, well, basically I've actually been making videos for 4 years. I finally made a video after I was diagnosed with autism. I sat and did a complete one take to camera about my autism diagnosis, which you'd probably find if you had a hunt, and that was my first official Purple video. So that's when I count the start of my YouTube channel, which was 4 years in June, I think. Okay, I think I'll take another. Ella, you said at the outset that you'd not had a good day. Does doing a live stream make your day better or add to the issues? I suppose what I'm asking is the process of a live stream cathartic? Good question. Yeah, I've had a really difficult day because my cat is really unwell, old, and has a lot of things wrong with her, and has spent quite a few days in the veterinary hospital, and we're really worried about her, and it's really upsetting because I really love my cat. And so I've spent days, it's been going on for about 4 days, I've kind of reached my limit of coping with it at lunchtime today. So I've spent today just getting a bit of space, but I am feeling quite anxious and overwhelmed by the situation. But I had made a commitment that I would do a live stream, and I do not want to say to autistic people, I'll be doing a live stream after 6, then just not do it, because that's a change, and I can appreciate that that wouldn't be okay for some people. Like, it would stress me out if I was waiting and going to watch a live stream. So I'm doing it. Sometimes it's cathartic and I feel better. It's always good to do something that feels positive and useful. So in that way, it's cathartic. I do know that after I've done this, I'm going to need to spend some time reducing my anxiety, because at the same time, doing live stream increases adrenaline, because it's kind of a performance, I guess. And so I know I'm going to have to deal with that after the live stream. So yes and no, but I don't mind being here doing it, because I really, one of the things that's positive and that's going well in my life is the YouTube channel and you guys, and feeling like I'm doing something, putting something out into the world that's positive. So it's been important to me to keep that going, even when my life is in chaos. Not that it is always in chaos, but even on days when it is. Yeah. So I'll do another Instagram question. Les, have you got one there that you want me to answer? Do you also do Instagram lives? I once did an Instagram live where I'd done a competition on YouTube and I drew it live on Instagram. No, to tell you the truth, I'm a little bit overwhelmed by all the social media possibilities out there. So there's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's what's the one where you make really quick videos? TikTok. There's TikTok. And there is having a chat room on Discord, seems to be a thing that a lot of people are doing. And there is Snapchat, and I can't produce content, because to me there's absolutely no point in making the same piece of content and putting it on 7 different pieces of social media, because you have a lot of the same people following you, and what is the point in presenting it to them in all these different places? Then what's the value in following you on a different channel? So I try to make there be some variation between what I'm putting on Facebook, what I'm putting on Twitter, and what I'm putting on Instagram, what I'm putting up here. So that's 4 channels, which is quite a lot of work. I probably work 3 to 4 hours a day. And so if I was to lives here and also to do Instagram lives, I just don't know how I would cope. And I don't have the same following over there as I do here. So it makes sense that I do my lives over here at the moment. But if the following on Instagram grew to a significant point where there were enough people that I could do a live stream and definitely get a group of people to hang out with live, then maybe I will in the future. That's the answer to that question. I'm not sure. Sorry, just looking at a comment from Kate about making katsu curry, and yes, enjoy your katsu. I do love a bit of katsu curry. Yeah, okay. This is quite a big and good question. Let's start with this little question. This is a good one, and I expect a few people will relate to this question. How to deal with getting haircuts? I can't stand someone touching me. So I don't like the hairdressers. I don't like being touched. I don't like staring in a mirror for half an hour and looking at my face and feeling weird looking at my face for half an hour. I don't like that. I don't like making small talk. I don't like the smell of salons. I don't like having my hair washed on those basins where you feel like your neck's going to pop off at any minute, or they scald you with water but you're too scared to say it's too hot because you're a little bit worried about upsetting someone. I don't like any of those aspects of haircuts, and I have done that for years and years and years. Gone to salons, had that done, and I basically also just want my hair to be long and fairly straightforward. So I started to use a mobile hairdresser, and the mobile hairdresser that I use already cut the hair of a friend's daughter who is autistic, and also had already cut the hair for several trans women and trans girls, and we swapped at the point when Liv was coming and growing hair. So it made sense to give this lady a try, and she started coming about 2 years ago, and I really like her. She's really nice and makes the experience of her haircut much more dealable. She's quick, there's no mirror, there's no hair washing. She doesn't touch me too much because she knows I find that difficult. So I think what I'm saying in a long-winded way is that you need to find a hairdresser who you can trust enough to tell them what you need to be able to get your hair cut without too much stress. And in my experience, that's often a hairdresser that comes to your home. but it could be a hairdresser in a salon. So go a few times, go and speak to hairdressers. Don't necessarily book a hair, just go and be like, look, I'm autistic. If you're okay with saying that, but if not, just I have a hard time being touched. How would you approach that? And when you get the feel for someone nice, go a few times, build a relationship, and then it becomes like, it's not fun, but it's manageable and it's less stressful. And in addition to that, it might be a good idea to have a hairstyle that doesn't require too much maintenance and too much touching. So in my case, I've got long hair. The hairdresser literally just cuts around the bottom and gets rid of any split ends. Because is split ends really a thing? What's the deal with hairdressers and split ends? I'm not sure. Yeah, that's what I recommend. Okay, another question from the chat. At what point would you say someone exhibits autistic character traits? Let's say you hate kisses and hugs, but you manage to play along even if you have lots of anxiety. Is that still autistic? That's a good question, Arash. I would say that all autistic traits are human traits. So many people have got one or two autistic traits. They might So, for example, I have enough traits to qualify for an autism diagnosis, and I am autistic, but I can hug someone, it would be unpleasant. I can make eye contact, and there's lots of things that I can do, but the result after I've done those things.
Sorry, we had a major dropout then. Can you just go back to the beginning of that?
Okay, sorry, I think I dropped out. So yeah, I'll start from the beginning again with the answer to the question. All autistic traits are human traits, and so most people will have one or two of those traits. They might have a difficulty with loud noises, or they might have a difficulty with being touched, or they might struggle with eye contact, or one or two human traits that would also be in line with autism. And then there are people who are autistic who have the collection of those traits, which leads to being diagnosably autistic and is having a significant impact on your life, particularly when you don't know that you're autistic. And have we got out again?
I'm going to try plugging into the...
Sorry, I think we're having some tech difficulties, but a solution is being found. So
it might just be external stuff. That's cool.
So I'm going to carry on from where I was because I don't think I can say that all again. So having autistic traits which you can hide doesn't mean that you're not autistic, because it's looking at what the impact of hiding those autistic traits has on your life. So for example, you might suck it up and let someone hug you, or sit and make eye contact with someone for half an hour whilst having a conversation, or put yourself in a really busy place, and you might on the surface look like you're coping with that, and then you might go home and feel really anxious and have a panic attack, or have a meltdown, or be completely, which is quite common, completely drained from the experience and have nothing left to give and need to curl up on the sofa to have coped with having been out in the world. So it's not whether or not you can hide the traits, it's what impact those traits and even the hiding of those traits is having on your life, and when you're diagnosed, often on your mental health. So yeah, that's what I think about that. I've got another question with a very short answer. Are you always full of anxiety? Yes. Yes, I always have some level of anxiety. Full of, perhaps not every day, but I always am managing an underlying feeling that something is wrong. But I'm kind of learning to identify what that is and what I need to do to make that go away. Because I think that essentially what I've realised over the last few months particularly is that as someone now in my early 40s who wasn't diagnosed until 36, and everything that I've been through, I have been living with some level of burnout for quite a long time, and that's partly why the anxiety is such a constant, and that what I need to do is manage my life in a way where I'm recovering from that burnout and then facilitating a new life in which I manage things in a way that mean I'm more stable and more regulated, I guess is the word. Yeah. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. Have we got any other chat questions that require of answers? Have you got another chat question?
I've been trying to figure this out. I wonder if it's the kids.
Yeah, the kids are using tech in the house and potentially using up bandwidth. I'm texting my children, and in fact, I'm gonna ring Robo Boy and get him to go around, because I'm not entirely confident that and get him to go around and disconnect everyone. Let's see. Ringing Milo. Oh, ringing Robo Boy. Oh, I'm bad at this. I'm bad at concealing kids' names. Don't tell anyone. Hello, Robo Boy. I'm live.
Hello?
Hello, I'm live, but I'm just ringing you because we're having some tech issues up here and that we keep dropping out. And we think it might be because you guys are using the internet. Is that the case?
We are using the internet.
Could you get everyone in the house to stop using the internet and do something else just while I finish this live stream?
Yes, I could.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye. Okay, fingers crossed. That will help resolve that issue. Okay, we've got a question. Can't quite see it. How far can you go at self-diagnosing your emotions? I struggle with that. I'm not very good at self-diagnosing. Is an interesting way to put it. I suppose I kind of would think of it as identifying my emotions, which is something that I do struggle with and is commonly a struggle for people on the autistic spectrum, because we have emotions, we feel something, but we're not necessarily very good at going, that is sadness because of this, or that is slight jealousy because of this, or that is insecurity because of this. I'm not good at that. I just have these emotions and I go, emotions. But I'm trying to do a thing that I saw another YouTuber, an ADHD YouTuber, suggest, which is to start writing down when I had a big emotion, what emotion was, how I responded to it, and whether the response was helpful or not, what the outcome of the response was, to try and to start identifying my emotions so that I can start to manage them better. It's very days for me with that process. I identified that I couldn't identify them many years ago, and now I'm identifying that I need to figure out how to identify them. Are we dropping out again?
We're at 42 minutes. I'm wondering if we should...
I'm really sorry about the tech issues with this. Are you guys, are we dropping out, or is it just on there? Oh, I'm so sorry. I think we might have to wrap this up quite soon because we're just having tech. Why don't you put it back on the Wi-Fi now the kids have come off it?
Well, it's still a connection into the house.
Here I am. I'm back. I'm back. I'm really sorry. I think we all wrap it up. If I don't drop out again, we've got, thank you, Nero, for the super chat. Thank you very much. Have we got any questions that are not that are a bit sillier or a bit more lighthearted? I think I've done a lot of talking about serious, heavy autism stuff, and I'm wondering if I have a question that is more fun before I finish up, to finish on a light and cheery note. So if you've got a fun question related to Lego or Fimo or Netflix or dogs, or which the best pizza is, or something along those lines, I think I'm looking for. So basically, whilst I wait to see if anything like that comes up, I will fill you in on what will be happening over the next few weeks, because I have just had a nice month, which I only put out on video because I needed some time off, and I've never ever done that. That's the first time in 4 years that I've taken time off, and it was needed. So I've been working over the last week to start to get content together for the coming weeks. I'm going to be back to a regular Friday upload schedule, and the Purple People's video is coming out on Monday, which is a Centre Parks vlog from my holiday in Centre Parks, and if you would like to see that, you will need to join the Purple People. And if you would like to join now, I get to say, hey, you joined the Purple People. So, you know, you've got a few minutes to do that. And additionally, on that Friday, everybody is coming a video on choosing healthy coping strategies, which I'm really pleased with. I'm learning so much in researching my own videos, and I go, oh, this has been really useful in my life, and now I get to come on the internet and hopefully be useful for other people. What are some of your happy stims? Well, obviously you all know that I clap my hands like this because that had become rather my lockdown live stream trademark. Dancing, I love to dance. I do some kind of, you know, new age dancing. Basically put some music and dance around in a really full-on contemporary dance, because I was a dancer kind of a way. I find that really helpful when I'm happy. Singing, does singing count as a stim? Because if it does, I am constantly singing, and I think it is kind of a stim for me, because I discovered I was on holiday once for about a week, and I was feeling really stressed because we hadn't got a radio in the car, so I hadn't been doing any singing. And then Mr. Purple figured out how to get some music on the car, and I sang along on a half-an-hour journey and felt significantly better afterwards. So yeah, those are my happy stims. But I think because I was diagnosed late, I haven't really, like a lot of the stuff I might have done as a child, I was told to do, I haven't really explored more obvious stimming in that time. Yeah. So Friday we will get a video about choosing healthy coping strategies, and then coming up in the future I'm working on a video. I'm working on a video on meltdowns, so less of a personal video, more of a how-to meltdowns kind of deal. And yeah, so it's been really great having you here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being part of the Purple community in whatever capacity. Welcome to all my new subscribers, and I will be back for next month's live stream on the first Friday in October, and I'm going to call that a wrap. Bye. And
No, I can leave you.
she's going to leave me sat here like, hey.